My beloved child, stop scrolling for just a moment. Take a deep breath and listen with an open heart. You may think this message found you by chance, but sometimes the words we need arrive exactly when we're ready to hear them. You have been standing at a crossroads for longer than you realize. You've prayed for direction. You've waited for clarity. You've asked for a sign. Today, imagine hearing these words. Your answer matters, not because one moment magically changes everything, but because every meaningful journey begins with a single choice. Fear has whispered, wait. Doubt has whispered, you're not ready. But hope is asking a different question. What if today is the day you finally choose courage? The answer you give today is not just about one decision. It is about the person you are becoming. Every step of faith, every act of kindness, every moment you choose hope instead of fear shapes your future. You don't have to know every detail of tomorrow. You only have to take the next faithful step today. If your heart has been carrying a burden, don't carry it alone. If you've been waiting for the perfect moment, remember that growth often begins before everything feels certain. So ask yourself honestly, what answer have you been avoiding? Perhaps it's forgiving someone. Perhaps it's letting go of fear. Perhaps it's finally believing that your life still has purpose. Whatever your answer is, let it come from faith instead of fear. May today be the beginning of renewed hope, deeper peace and greater courage. If this message encouraged you, leave an amen in the comments and share it with someone who may need these words today. Remember, sometimes the smallest answer becomes the first step toward the biggest change. Before you make your next decision, pause for a moment. Think about everything you've been carrying in silence. The worries you never shared, the prayers you whispered when no one else was around, the nights you wondered if anyone truly understood what was happening inside your heart. Many people around you can see your smile, but they cannot see the battles you've fought just to keep moving forward. You may have asked yourself, why is this taking so long? Why do the doors keep closing? Have my prayers been forgotten? Those are questions many people ask during difficult seasons, but sometimes the waiting season becomes the place where strength is built, patience grows, character deepens, compassion expands. The person you become during the waiting can prepare you for opportunities you couldn't have handled before. Think back to a challenge that once seemed impossible. At the time, it felt like the end of the road, yet somehow, step by step, you made it through, not because everything became easy overnight, but because you kept moving even when you couldn't see the whole path. Today may be another one of those moments. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to eliminate every fear before taking one faithful step forward. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to move forward even while fear is still whispering in the background. If you've been holding on to anger, ask yourself what freedom might look like if you chose forgiveness. If you've been trapped by regret, remember that your past can teach you without deciding your future. If you've been waiting for permission to begin again, consider this your reminder that every sunrise offers a new opportunity to take the next step. There is still purpose in your story. There are still chapters that haven't been written. There are still people whose lives may be encouraged simply because you refuse to give up. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough doesn't arrive with loud celebrations or dramatic signs. Sometimes it begins quietly with a simple decision, a decision to hope again, a decision to trust again, a decision to love again, a decision to believe that your life still has meaning, even when the road ahead feels uncertain. So don't underestimate today's choice. Small decisions, repeated with faith and consistency, often become the foundation for extraordinary change. As you continue listening, ask yourself one honest question. What kind of person do I want to become after today? Hold that question in your heart, because what comes next may help you see your journey from a completely different perspective. Now, Stay with this thought for just a little longer. There is something remarkable about the moments that seem ordinary. We often expect life-changing experiences to arrive with thunder, dramatic signs, or instant certainty. Yet many of the most meaningful turning points begin quietly. They begin with a conversation, a decision, a moment of honesty, or a choice that almost seems too small to matter. Perhaps today feels like one of those ordinary days. You woke up carrying the same questions, facing the same responsibilities, and wondering if anything will truly be different. But what if the difference isn't waiting somewhere outside of you? What if the first change begins within your own heart? Think about the dreams you have set aside, not because they stopped mattering, but because disappointment slowly convinced you they were impossible. Think about the opportunities you walked away from because fear spoke louder than hope. Think about the words you never said, because you were afraid of rejection. Every one of us has moments like these. The important question is not whether those moments happened. The important question is what we choose to do next. Your future is not built only by the biggest decisions you ever make. It is built by hundreds of small choices repeated over time. The choice to keep learning, the choice to keep growing, the choice to become a little more patient than yesterday, the choice to encourage someone instead of criticizing them, the choice to stand back up after life has knocked you down. Those quiet decisions shape a life more than dramatic moments ever could. Maybe you've been measuring your progress by what hasn't happened yet. Instead, take a moment to notice how much you've already overcome. There was a time when you thought you would never make it through that difficult season. Yet here you are. There was a time when your heart felt overwhelmed, yet you found enough strength to keep moving. There was a time when uncertainty surrounded every step, yet somehow, one day at a time, you continued forward. That matters. Growth is not always loud. Sometimes growth is simply refusing to quit. As you continue your journey, remember this: comparison steals peace. Someone else's success does not reduce your value. Someone else's progress does not erase your purpose. Your story has its own timing, its own lessons, and its own meaning. Instead of asking why your path looks different, ask what you can learn from the path you're already walking. Every challenge can teach resilience. Every disappointment can teach wisdom. Every delay can become an opportunity to prepare for something greater. When you begin to see life through that perspective, even difficult moments can become meaningful teachers. And perhaps that is the invitation before you today. Not to wait for a perfect life, not to wait until every fear disappears, not to wait until every question has been answered, but to begin living with hope, courage, gratitude, and faithfulness in the present moment. Take one step, then another. Before long, the distance between who you were and who you are becoming will be greater than you ever imagined. Don't underestimate the power of today's decision. A single decision can inspire another. One act of kindness can begin a chain of encouragement. One moment of courage can open a door that fear kept closed for years. The future is not written in a single dramatic event. It is written one faithful step at a time. So as you continue listening, let this question stay with you. If today truly became the beginning of a new chapter, what would you choose to do differently? Hold on to that question, because sometimes the greatest transformation begins with an honest answer, and then the courage to live it out, one day at a time. As you reflect on everything you've heard so far, don't rush to search for immediate answers. Some of life's most important lessons reveal themselves slowly. They unfold through ordinary moments, quiet conversations, unexpected opportunities, and the simple willingness to keep moving forward when certainty feels out of reach. Perhaps you've been waiting for one perfect sign before taking your next step, but consider another possibility. What if confidence grows after you begin, rather than before? Many people believe they must feel completely fearless before they can make a meaningful decision. Yet courage often works the opposite way. It appears after the first step is taken, every small act of determination strengthens the next one. Think about the people you admire most. Their lives probably weren't free from setbacks. They likely faced disappointment, uncertainty, criticism, and moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing. What made the difference was not the absence of difficulty. It was their decision to continue learning, adapting, and growing despite those difficulties. That same opportunity exists for you. You cannot rewrite yesterday, but you can influence what happens next. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can choose your response to those circumstances, and sometimes that single choice changes far more than we realize. Imagine looking back 1 year from today. What kind of memories would make you proud? Would you be grateful that you finally started the project you had postponed? Would you be thankful that you reached out to someone you had been avoiding? Would you be relieved that you chose healing instead of bitterness? Those possibilities begin with today's choices. Progress rarely happens all at once. It is built through consistency, one encouraging conversation, one honest apology, one new habit, one decision to keep going even when the results are still invisible. There will still be days when you feel tired. There will still be moments when doubt tries to convince you that nothing is changing. When those moments arrive, remember how often meaningful growth happens beneath the surface before anyone can see it. A seed spends time growing unseen before it ever breaks through the soil. Preparation often happens long before visible success. So don't become discouraged simply because your progress isn't immediately obvious. Keep planting good habits. Keep choosing integrity. Keep practicing kindness. Keep investing in wisdom. Keep making decisions that align with the person you hope to become. Over time, those choices create a foundation that can support opportunities when they arrive. Another important truth is this: no one walks through life without making mistakes. Everyone has moments they wish they could do differently. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is becoming a little wiser, a little kinder, and a little stronger with each new season. When you stumble, don't define yourself by that single moment. Learn from it. Grow through it. Then continue your journey with greater understanding than before. Your story is still unfolding. There are conversations you haven't had yet, friendships you haven't formed yet, lessons you haven't discovered yet, moments of joy you haven't experienced yet. Because of that, don't allow temporary disappointment to convince you that the best chapters are already behind you. Instead, remain open to the possibility that some of the most meaningful experiences are still waiting ahead. Take time today to pause. Reflect honestly. Express gratitude for the progress you've already made, even if it feels small. Then choose one action, just one, that moves you closer to the life you hope to build. Small, consistent actions often create extraordinary results over time. As this message comes to a close, carry this thought with you. The future is not shaped by one dramatic moment alone. It is shaped by the everyday decisions to act with courage, hope, compassion, and perseverance. And perhaps today's decision, however small it may seem, is the beginning of a chapter you will one day look back on with gratitude. And before you leave this moment behind, give yourself permission to be completely honest. How many times have you doubted your own potential simply because life didn't unfold according to your expectations? How many opportunities have you overlooked because you believed you had already missed your chance? It is easy to believe that one mistake defines an entire future. But life has a way of reminding us that every new day carries the possibility of a fresh beginning. You may not be able to erase yesterday. You may not be able to change every circumstance surrounding you, but you can decide what kind of attitude you will carry into tomorrow. That decision is more powerful than many people realize. Imagine two people facing the exact same challenge. One chooses to surrender to hopelessness. The other chooses to keep learning, even through disappointment. Months later, their circumstances may look completely different, not because one person had an easier path, but because their daily choices slowly shaped different outcomes. This is why today's decision matters, not because it instantly changes everything, but because it begins changing you. And when you begin to change, your actions change, your habits change, your relationships change, your confidence grows, your perspective widens. Little by little, your life begins reflecting the person you are becoming. Never underestimate the value of quiet faithfulness. The world often celebrates quick success. Yet lasting character is usually built in places where no one is watching. It is built in the early mornings, when you choose discipline instead of excuses. It is built in difficult conversations, where you choose honesty instead of comfort. It is built in moments when you choose compassion instead of anger. Those choices may seem invisible today, but over time, they become the foundation of a meaningful life. There will also be voices that tell you to give up. Some voices come from fear, some come from disappointment, some come from people who cannot see the dreams inside your heart. Listen carefully to which voices you allow to shape your future. Surround yourself with people who encourage wisdom. Seek truth instead of empty approval. Choose relationships that inspire growth rather than constant negativity. Remember that peace is not found by avoiding every problem. Peace often comes from knowing that you are living according to your deepest values, even when life is uncertain. As you move forward, don't forget to celebrate small victories. Celebrate every habit you improve. Celebrate every fear you overcome. Celebrate every act of kindness you choose. Celebrate every lesson that makes you stronger. Progress deserves gratitude even before perfection arrives. One day, you may look back on this season and realize that what felt like a delay was actually preparation. What felt like an obstacle became a lesson. What felt like an ending became the beginning of a completely new chapter. Until that day comes, keep moving. Keep believing that growth is possible. Keep choosing hope over despair. Keep investing in the kind of character that no circumstance can take away. And whenever uncertainty returns, ask yourself one simple question. What is the next right step I can take today? Don't worry about taking 100 steps. Take the next one, then take another. Before you realize it, you will have traveled farther than you ever imagined. If these words encouraged you, take a quiet moment to reflect on one decision you can make today that aligns with the future you hope to build. Sometimes, that single decision becomes the turning point that you recognize only when you look back months or even years later. Stay here for a little while longer, because this is the part that many people never stop long enough to consider. Life has a way of convincing us that we must have every answer before we take the next step. We tell ourselves, when everything becomes clear, then I'll move forward. When I feel stronger, then I'll begin. When the fear disappears, then I'll finally believe in myself. But that perfect moment rarely arrives. Instead, growth often begins in the middle of uncertainty. It begins when you decide that fear will no longer have the final word. Look back over your own journey. There have been seasons when you thought you would never smile again. There were mornings when getting out of bed felt like an accomplishment. There were days when disappointment followed disappointment, and you wondered how much longer you could keep going. Yet somehow, you are still here. You have survived moments that once felt impossible. That doesn't mean every wound has completely healed. It doesn't mean every question has already been answered. It simply means that you are stronger than you gave yourself credit for. Never overlook that truth. Strength is not measured only by victories. Sometimes strength is measured by quiet endurance. It is measured by choosing kindness after being hurt. It is measured by remaining honest when dishonesty seems easier. It is measured by continuing to hope after experiencing disappointment. Those are the moments that shape character. The world often celebrates what is visible: achievements, recognition, success. But the invisible victories matter just as much. The moment you forgive someone who may never apologize, the moment you decide to stop carrying bitterness, the moment you replace comparison with gratitude, the moment you choose to encourage another person, even while facing your own struggles, those victories may never appear in headlines. Yet they transform the heart, and a transformed heart has the power to transform an entire life. Think about the people who have inspired you the most. Chances are it wasn't because they lived perfect lives. It was because they showed courage during imperfect seasons. They remained compassionate when life became difficult. They continued learning instead of pretending they already knew everything. They Beck,